if you don't care about the underlying system and all you care about is, I need to do this work and I'm going to use this system because, Ubuntu is very easy to install. It takes like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on your internet speed. The longest part is downloading everything. If you're the kind of person who's in that situation, it doesn't really, the rest of it just doesn't really matter to you.
Absolutely. But that's also kind of my argument that I think more people would actually be okay on Linux compared to Windows. Because a lot of people just need a web browser. And that's really all they need. And you have all of this overhead in the underlying system on Windows that you wouldn't have on Linux. My parents ran MX Linux for like a year,
Oh,
year and a half or something like that. And I had to create like stuff on the desktop for them, but that was it. Once I did that, like they just pretty much ran with it and they were fine. So, I feel like that's kind of the thing that I think is important though, is your point there, because I'm not a big fan of snaps. I get why I understand why some people like them and some people don't. I understand what Canonical's trying to do. Personally, just not the best fit for me. But I'm not going to fault anybody that wants to use Ubuntu. That's their deal. If that works for them, that's all that matters.
For sure. I want to dig more into that point you said about installing Linux for your parents. So, yeah, what do you think the Windows does that gets in the way for like the regular average person? Obviously, the way Windows updates works is very much annoying, but it's been a while since I've actively used a Windows system. I haven't even touched Windows 11. Like, last time I used it was 10.
I literally touched Windows 11 for really the first time when I did a video about installing Mint alongside Windows. And that was purely because I have a mini PC that I'm about to turn into a Proxmox box, I
think. Okay.
But yes. So at the time, they were on Windows 8.
Oh.
And so, or 8.1 or something like that. And this machine had, I want to say 4 gigabytes of RAM. It was one of those stupid low-end PCs that stores sell, and unfortunately people like my parents buy, even though I try to advise them not to. But yes, that is what they had. And so it was like, okay, I mean, they kept complaining about how slow it was. Come to find out, I think the thing had a spinning hard drive at this point.
Well, yeah, if it's Windows 8, it would have been during that era where you had the option of 128 gig SSD or 2 terabyte spinning drive. And a lot of people go with the spinning drive because, bigger number equals better.
Oh, that didn't even enter the equation for them. But
sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You are totally right. It is around that time. And it was something where, like, once I installed MX and just flipped over to an SSD, like a small one, like that machine was fine. It eventually had an issue with the Wi-Fi that was nothing to do with the drivers. It just stopped working.
Old hardware sometimes breaks.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and that's how I ended up getting them on it, because ultimately, like, they were just like, they just needed something that worked, and Windows 8 was not working for them at that point. But I got Solitaire installed on there. I got the browser set up and added their favorites, and like they were fine. They could, honestly, if they probably could not have told you any difference in it, because I think for a lot of people, the underlying OS really doesn't matter, and that's one of the things that I think people seem to miss when they're trying to talk about like getting people to switch to Linux. Is most people don't even think about that question. Much less anything else.
Yeah, I was telling my housemate about this the other day. There was this thing with apparently some Windows 7 keys can activate Windows 10 or something like that. He's like, well, if Microsoft advertised this, then people would just go out and buy Windows 7 keys and just not bother buying like the $90 Windows 10 or Windows 11 key. But most people don't consume computers in that way. Like, he's a gamer. He's built a computer before. He's like installed operating systems. But most people, when they get a computer, it is the computer. It is whatever comes. It is an appliance in the same way that like your fridge or your toaster. This is an appliance. If it breaks, it breaks. Maybe if it's expensive enough, you'll send it to like a repair person. But Besides that,
Mhm.
like, you're never going to touch it yourself. Like, it's the same way that I am with cars, for example. I don't know anything about cars. If my car breaks, I send it to a mechanic. They know what they're doing. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I think these people just have, they have priorities on different things. Their focus is on
Absolutely.
doing whatever their job is. Their focus is on, just using their computer as a recreation device rather than a. I think that's a good separation. A lot of people in the, or actually pretty much everyone in the Linux world uses Linux as a hobby, as opposed to using your computer as a recreation device. So it's the operating system itself that's the hobby, not the computer.
Yeah, for sure. And there is definitely an element of that, I think, for a lot of Linux users. Though
Mhm.
I do occasionally hear from some that, they're really just trying to do basic computing and
Oh,
they just
yeah.
got sick of Windows for whatever reason, or their PC no longer runs it well, or whatever else. But
Well, no,
yeah.
I definitely know developers who are in that camp, like the people I was saying before, who just install Ubuntu and then just do some work on it.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
when you're the kind of person who gets involved in discussions about, if you are getting in a discussion about GNU Herd, you are
Yeah.
already one of these people that are like very, very invested in this space.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.